River Valley meeting to order at
3.
7:03. And the River Valley packet is right here. You know something? I'm gonna have to share your agenda again.
Did they all get approved?
Mine printed super small, so I hope you have
I'm
your
not gonna
glasses.
send
I
it
do.
down.
So, we call to order additions or deletions to the agenda, everybody, anybody or
Or can you jot them
everybody?
down?
Do you know if Dwight's gonna be here?
I got a text from him, I think he should be here. Yeah.
Okay, Laura they got called up north for this afternoon, so she says this should be the last week and she'll make all the other meetings. She wanna make sure she apologized to everybody, but she's gotta be most peculiar.
Rich, I do have an addition to the agenda.
Go ahead.
I have just an update of the networked improvement community, just a quick one-pager that I'll go over, and I don't believe that was on the original agenda.
Why don't we put that in ratifying the work sessions for guidance for the superintendent, because that kind of fits in
Okay,
there.
perfect.
I'm just gonna put update from you. Okay. Members of the public, Mark, first in line, first in the hearts of your countrymen. I'm sorry, I don't,
Oh, Jennifer and Aldi.
anything,
Untitled.
members of the public?
Nope.
Nope. Anita, you get a chance under communications, but if you want to play public, you can.
I'm good.
Okay. Video guy? No, you're all good. Review and approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2018 meeting. Motion to approve the minutes in a second, please.
Motion to approve the minutes.
So Barry made a motion to approve them. Do we have a second? Rick seconds it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, superintendent's report. Bill has submitted a written cabinet report that I believe went out with the agenda.
I have hard copies if you'd like one.
So would anybody like that? Is there any,
copy. Thank you, sir.
is there any discussion? You know what else, Bill? Do you have extra ones of these guardrails for the creation?
This one?
Yes.
I could print some.
Could you just print some to make sure we have enough?
Yeah. Hey, Tammy, if I send you something?
She went to make a copy.
She did. She must have gotten it.
Okay,
Oh, is
so
that what you asked me?
we should have the superintendent's cabinet report. Bill, do you want to like highlight anything or is?
Well, I just would highlight that the legislature is supposed to end on Saturday, but we will find that out on a day-by-day basis. Many of the things that will affect schools are still in flux. It does appear that the special education census model does have some pretty great momentum. That will be something that this board will be working with probably for the next 7 or 8 years. And essentially what that is changing a special education from a reimbursement model to a block grant. And there's a lot less red tape with that, a lot more flexibility for the administrators to deliver and design systems to help students without having to worry about how many students are in a small group, how many students have an IEP. It's really just getting to the heart of making sure that students get what they need. However, that is paired with, they're going to give you a certain amount of money. So if you're very good at prevention and very good at investing in early education and high quality intervention, then you should free up some money for even more expansion of education. If you don't do that, the converse will be true, where you're going to have to spend more local money to be able to deliver what students need. So it's really dependent on a lot of the things we learned in the DMG report, a lot of things that have been going on at Wardsboro and Dover for a while, looking at data and delivering intervention, but it just kind of really highlights that that's going to be necessary going forward in a very strategic manner. There's a lot of things going on at the state in terms of changing over our entire financial management system. Our business manager and her team are on top of that. We have an entire new grants management system, so our director of curriculum is on top of that. And in preparation for the census model happening, our director of special education has asked the Agency of Education to come down and do an audit on our IEPs so that we can learn where we're doing well and where we need to improve before a census type system comes in place. So we have a lot of things that are happening in the back burner that you guys probably don't see, but I feel very confident that the members of the cabinet are leading those learning opportunities.
Excellent. Any questions for Bill?
Block grant would be based on,
The average of FY 17, 18, and 19 combined. And it does not include extraordinary costs. Extraordinary costs would still be over and above.
above 100,000?
Right now, it is 50,000. They're looking at anywhere between 50 and 70,000 and whatever that reimbursement would be.
Okay.
You bet.
Here comes Dwight.
Where am I?
Usually we don't start till another 10 or 15.
I know. Normally I'm
Dwight, we're up to communications report. So Anita, I actually have from Anita 2 copies of the Bucketville News. Yay!
all right.
2, one for May and one for April. But I also went online and printed it. They have pretty color pictures if you go online by the color printer. And on the, you got the whole survey in the May Bucketville News.
Well, it's kind of,
Depends.
all the questions and answers are there for the big question and answer part, but the other part was a little condensed. So,
That was on page 8 and 9.
correct.
And then on page 11, we have an RVUSD news by the RVUSD board. We write some really good articles. In case you didn't know, we put everybody to shame here. My English teacher, J.B. Stearns, would be very proud of us, proud of me. So anyways, it's here, it's really kind of good, and Anita's got good news is that they're allowing you some, like your own byline kind of.
Our own byline. So I did get approval from the gang that runs the Bucketville News to put in a column every month, a standing column, and then they're giving me about 320 words. So y'all can determine the topic. Otherwise, I'll just pick stuff from the minutes or from stuff I overhear at the meeting or things that, but to the extent that you want to direct that and say, this is the message we'd like to put out for the next issue. So on Friday morning, I need to submit my 300-ish words for the month of June. So that's a standing column. I don't have to beg for permission. They're just going to give me that every month. You also appear on the town meetings page, which is why you're not on the back page, which is the calendar of events page, because now you appear on the page 2 town meetings page. So just if you all want to let me finish doing my report and then think about the 300 words you want me to pitch this time or at the end. I do need to confirm the June and July dates for meetings. Any changes, or are you just going to stick with 1st and 3rd, June and July?
We're gonna stick with 1st and 3rd, but being flexible that we may have to cancel something depending.
All right, so I'll send in the June
So
dates.
let me just ask though, which brings up a good point, even though it comes up, thank you. It comes up later in the meeting. So we propose to have 2 meetings in another meeting in May, which I think we need to have in Dover because there's some stuff we're gonna do tonight. And we've always talked about trying to do things in both towns before we make a decision. But we're also in the position where we're about ready to hand off to the superintendent and his crew the work to move forward with kind of doing the planning. So we do want to meet at least once a month with him and his group, just so that he can kind of let us know where he's going. And then if we say, whoa, you kind of went way off the road there, buddy, off the reservation, maybe we ought to bring you back in a little bit, then we can do that, and he's not spending a lot of time spinning his wheels doing something that we don't want. So I'm thinking for right now that maybe we could just do that once a month. So if we were to do that, then in June and July, we should probably alternate and maybe do the June meeting at the beginning of June in Wardsboro and do the July meeting at the end of July in Dover. And then, August, we're planning on trying to have, like a more formal presentation in either August or September. Doing maybe like a 4 or 5 hour meeting with, supplying food and refreshments to people that wanna come. And then, hopefully the plan will be there in its entirety to be presented and, approved or discussed by us. So how does that, if we did those dates, I think Carrie's got her calendar up. So what would be the, Bill, though, if we just give you this now, would it be better to meet at the end of June or the beginning of June for you? Does that give you more time to get your?
End of June would be better.
So why don't we do the end of June and the end of July, and we'll just meet in Wardsboro at the end of June, and we'll meet the end of July in Dover, if that's okay?
So not do the.
Not do the first
Not me.
meetings.
June 18th.
That'd be great
So
for me.
Carrie,
so
what are
I'm
your two
available.
dates?
Oh, I'm just, so you're looking at one date in June?
Yeah, just the third Mondays.
So the 18th.
And what about July?
So July would be the 16th, the 3rd. Although there's 2 more.
You still have the 23rd and the 30th.
Well, let's stick with the third, at least we'll keep something consistent.
That'd be the
I
16th.
prefer the 23rd, but that's just.
Okay,
What's the date
That's just
then?
me.
well, we're thinking June 18th and July 16th, but Dwight would like to see July 23rd. I have no problem with that, one Monday's different than the next.
But I'm just one person.
Carrie?
That's fine, it's just August is a hard.
Yeah, well, we're not even close to August yet. We're not even gonna talk about that. Rick, do you
I'm
know?
fine with either one.
I'm fine with either.
So those are the 2 dates I should put in the bucket bill.
Let's do June 18th and for Dwight, we'll do the 23rd.
Alright, so the first 2 Mondays of each of those months, there'll be no meeting.
No meeting.
Got it,
So June 18th will be in Wardsboro.
got it.
Actually, you said that's a conflict because June 18th, you have a Dover School Board meeting.
Yeah,
at
well,
6 p.m.
we'll have to
You're doing it at 5:30.
do it here.
You might as well, I mean. Doesn't matter.
Go back and forth, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going over the notes from a couple minutes.
The last one.
June 18th should be in Dover, but we wanna move it here. But then that way, well, I don't know, do you guys care if we meet July here?
It's fine, I don't know.
No, you just kind of throw it, yeah, you just kind of, yeah, I mean, it's out of what we're normally doing anyway.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's fine.
so let's do
Exactly.
June 18th in Dover
Building into it.
Right.
and
right.
July 23rd in Wardsboro.
July 23rd.
Summer schedule.
Yeah,
We're always
you
allowed
got
to.
Summer,
see
Summer
that.
hours.
yeah, summer hours.
And no meeting on June 4th?
No meeting July 3rd or 2nd or 4th or whatever day that falls to.
One last time, June 18th is
Dover.
Dover, which is what I have anyway, right?
Yep.
What time, 7 o'clock start?
And then.
Yeah, 7 o'clock still good with people?
Sure.
And then July 23rd in Wardsboro. Tammy, do you know if there's anything you got?
I think we're clear, yeah.
Matt left.
Hit those dates again, Rich?
Oh, Matt, are we good June 18th in Dover, or is that okay for?
Yeah, that's what we had planned, I think, right?
For Dover,
Yeah,
but we can have the River Valley too afterwards?
sure.
Okay, and then July 23rd will be in Wardsboro.
Okay. We don't have a July meeting for Dover.
Right, so,
We should be fine there.
okay, so
What time do you want to start the
7 o'clock, both of them, right? Bless you. Okay,
Great.
good, we made a decision,
Yeah,
hey,
that's
Matt.
good. Well
Just a
done.
quick question. Does it matter that the July 23rd is the 4th Monday?
No, we moved it,
You're cool with that?
yeah. Well, hey, it's our prerogative.
That's
It's
summer
our-
schedule.
It's our meeting, summer schedule, that's what we said. Okay, Nita, that good?
Yep, so
Okay.
there's been no
Great, thank
new
you. That's awesome.
contacts or emails coming in on the media, WCSUmedia.website. The blog site is updated, front porch forum calendar and notices are updated. The next meeting in this month, May, I probably won't come to in person, but I'll send you a written report if there's anything for that. And then next week or so, Bill, your office will probably get an interim invoice from me.
Okay.
And I still welcome any feedback from any of you guys about what I can be doing extra or more or different or better or whatever. So if things just pop in your head, let me know. With the permission of all of you, I can sign you all up for the email edition of the Bucketville News if you want yet another email. Otherwise, I can sign you all
Why
up.
don't you sign them all up? That's part of their.
I get it.
They're being important.
You're good? Okay, well, I'll just send it to Nancy and
Sign me
she'll.
up.
I get the mail, but I'll take the email one, just.
Yeah, so I'll just
in
sign
case it
everybody
doesn't-
up, if that's okay with everybody.
Opening the mailbox and doing it.
And that way, you'll be able to read the column without me having to remind, or you won't have to look for a paper copy. So that's it for me.
So my one comment is, you said you get so many words, and I noticed you use this "you all." Is that to save words? Is that like a press thing? So,
I was in love with a Kentucky lawyer for a very long time, and it's stuck.
y'all.
Y'all.
So I think when we get done, I'm gonna just, the one thing, what we wanna see in the Bucketville News for May and June, let's see if we get through something. If we get through something, I think that would be a good thing to put.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're gonna just kind of put a little asterisk by that for now.
But before I leave, I'll just need some direction of what the general topic is, and I'll take it from there.
Okay. Mark, did you have a question? Did you say, no? Oh, that was Bill maybe. Bill, you all set then? Or
I am.
Matt, I'm sorry, way back on that. All good, okay. Moving right along into old business, update on building studies. Dwight, I know they were in Dover on Monday.
They were. We were in Dover on Monday. I got a chance to visit the school and tour all the facilities there briefly, and then I left the engineer to do his thing and review everything over there. Today we were supposed to meet at Wardsboro, but they changed it to tomorrow. So I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to do the Wardsboro study.
And that's, you're all good with your.
All good. Everyone's
No
set to
doubt
go.
about it.
Yep.
Cool.
All set, good to go. Hopefully we'll have those results in a month or so.
Excellent. Any questions on the engineering study? So, ratify work session guidance for superintendent. So last week, we kind of had a really, I thought, very productive and good work session. So, Tammy, you wanted to make a comment on,
I just wanted to report out on the work that Wardsboro's been doing with the networked improvement community that we're working on.
sure, you want to come up here and do it?
I don't have to, I can
Come
stand.
on.
I can stand, sure.
No, that's fine, you can be back in here.
You can hear me from back here, right?
No, you're fine.
So here is just a one-sheet informational piece for you to all read over. What I'm realizing is that there's many different layers to this project, which starts right at the U.S. government with the CCSSO, which stands for the Council of Chief Secretary Office, which is basically all of the it would be like the Rebecca Holcombs of all of the states. So it would be the secretaries of the agencies of education. And then there's 4 participating states, which include Vermont, Nebraska, North Carolina, and Maryland. And then there's the Vermont Hub, which includes Jen McCusick from our district, as well as representatives from the Agency of Education, district curriculum coordinators, as well as supervisory union representatives. The next layer is the inquiry team, which is the team that Bill and I are on, which consists of 4 districts participating. And I don't know if I have this right, Bill. We've got Wyndham, we've got Berrytown School,
Wyndham as in Wyndham Central.
Wyndham Central,
Yep,
correct.
Berrytown.
We've got Franklin West.
Yep.
And is Windsor?
I think the other group is Windsor.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
They were not at our last inquiry meeting, which was last Thursday. And then we have the school level, which is the Vermont schools, which includes, the local level, which is Wardsboro, Berrytown, and Berry City School, Georgia Elementary, and I'm not sure which the elementary school from Windsor is that is participating. So you can see it starts with the government, moves down to the state hubs, the inquiry team, and then the local level, which is the one that we're participating in. A little background information, you guys can read that part over. It just gives you sort of some information about the project. We've had 2 meetings at the inquiry team level, one in December, which was basically an initial meeting. We met members of the team, we learned about the project, we established the primary causes of the problem of practice. We were given action tasks to do from that meeting to the next meeting. So Wardsboro, we conducted a gap analysis, which looked at what the current practice is, what the gaps are, and then the desired practice. We established a common understanding of instructional practices at the school level. We decided we wanted to work on some things, and one of the things we chose was eliciting and interpreting student thinking. So it's really like if a student gives a response to an answer, the teacher tries to draw them out by asking more questions and really dialing in on student responses. And so the teachers have been trying that out, practicing and reflecting on that. The May meeting, which was just last week, consisted of the inquiry team designing the work for improvement science through a theory of action. So it's the problem of practice and what are the primary drivers, the secondary drivers. It really just sort of nails it, I guess, to a more detailed, granular problem. Or what is it that we're going to change?
Yeah, it really operationalizes improvement science. I mean, it's taking what happens in business all the time or in scientific research studies and puts it into the classroom element. Yeah.
So we're really at the stages, what is that change item that we're going to use here at the school? So with it being the end of the school year, our aim here at Wardsboro is to really finalize what our plan, Do Study Act cycle is going to be in September and what that change idea is going to be. And we're going to finalize that at our webinar in June. There are grants being awarded, about $6,000 per district. It's going to cover things like substitutes, mileage, meetings to Montpelier, additional resources such as books, professional learning, coaching for the project. And one little tidbit to know, the project's being funded by Kellogg, which I learned last Thursday, I didn't realize that, as well as a private source. So just a little information for you guys to.
Well, and then we found out that even though the project is currently funded through September of 2019, that we should find out this summer, and they feel extremely positive, correct me if I'm wrong, that they have some funding that will continue this work for at least another 2 more years.
Right.
So Tammy and I went up with the Wardsboro team. It's really exciting to put teachers into an environment of kind of this mindset of being really scientific about testing a hypothesis and then seeing what the results say and then making changes in practice on a really fast turnaround.
It's really, I feel like it's going to really force teachers to really be reflective about what they're doing in the classroom on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Really being innovative about things and trying and testing new things out and seeing the results.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it's very, very exciting.
The only comment I got is get something in writing from somebody in Montpelier saying that 6,000 per district means individual districts and not the entire state or the entire program. Huh?
There was discussion.
Yeah.
What was the name of that project?
It's the Network Improvement Community.
Thank you.
That's that Nick that we keep talking about, because people like initials. Thank you, Tammy.
Sure.
Can I ask you a question? So
Yeah.
the webinar in June, so like how often do you meet with the groups above you, or is that just the local teams you'll be meeting?
So that is going to be, the inquiry hub meeting will be actually online for the June meeting.
Okay.
I think it's just really incredibly challenging to get everybody together in June up in Montpelier, so they're doing it all online. And then the hub has met, is it twice, Bill?
They've met twice. They meet on a quarterly basis. And then we start in August meeting monthly.
It will be monthly, traveling.
Is that all the teachers or just you? That's everyone?
It's the inquiry team. Yeah, so it will be the people from
3 people from Wardsboro.
From Wardsboro, exactly.
Our pre-K teacher,
Right.
our pre-K teacher,
Right.
our 1-2 teacher, our principal and interventions, the superintendent, the director of curriculum.
Everybody good? Okay. Review and update, the Ratify work session. So last meeting in Dover, like you said, I think we got a lot of stuff done. So there is a piece of paper I think that everybody should have. It says guardrails for creation of River Valley Union School District. Looks like this. It starts off with the 6 things we came up with was honoring that one. honoring the culture responses from Wardsboro and Dover. So there was, and I don't have that right in front of me handily, but Matt and Tammy worked with their staff, parents, students, and came up with, I think they each had 10 items on the list. Things like the mascot, the names, the different traditions like Memorial Day or, I don't remember them all, but that has to be worked into the plan. That there'll be 2 buildings, one in each town. To incorporate the top 3 responses from the survey, which are expanded educational opportunities for students, honoring the culture of each community, which kind of goes back to number 1, and finding cost savings through shared services. And remember, we had a little bit of a discussion about this because kind of C may be contradictory to A and B, but we'll have to see how Bill makes that work, because we have faith in him and his peoples, you all. Number 4, top 3 from successful transition survey answers was equality, equity, and more opportunities, which kind of fits with everything else we discussed. 1 in which neither school is pulled down by this merger, and cooperation, trust, and unity develops between teachers, students, parents, and administrators of each town. And 1 where taxpayers see value the district's quality brings to the 2 towns. Parents feel fortunate for students to be in the district. Students are proud to be part of the district. And entering middle and secondary schools prepared to lead, and administrators and teachers feel they have enough support and time to maintain high-quality educational programs throughout the district. Number 5 is equity in transportation, and we broke that into 2 subgroups, K-6 and 7 through 12. And we talked about what Tammy just mentioned, network improvement community, NIC, and international backlog. That word, IB retained. So that's the 6 things we came up with. Is there any, before we move to questions, is there any thoughts on those? Anybody have any comments? Hearing none, the questions that Bill had, and this is why we want to try to meet monthly as Bill tasks his team with putting this together, is he wasn't sure. So question 1, default for student attendance defined by town lines, guardrail or policy. So the question is we need to come up with a policy because it's required of us before school opens. I think we have till June of next year to come out with a policy for which student attends which buildings. We had talked a little bit about defining it by town lines. Do we want to make it a guardrail or policy, or, and I'm just going to throw my thought out first, is that, I think until we see what is being presented to us, I don't know if we had hoped to work on a policy over the summer, but I think we really need to wait and see what the educational program looks like before we actually come up with a policy, because I think the policy is going to have to somewhat reflect the educational program. If they come up with a way to have the NIC and the IB in both buildings, maybe less reason, or one less reason to be able to put something in maybe a policy about which building you attend, based on that, depending on what it looks like with how he's sharing resources or what he's putting in each building. So my thought is the default for students is right now there is no default, and we just see what he puts together for a program, and as we start to see what the program is, then we can start to work on a policy.
But it has to be a policy.
Yes, we're required by the articles of agreement that were voted is to come up with a policy by June of 2019. So is everybody good with that? Just kind of leaving that question there, and that's a good question to carry forward. But just, Bill, I don't think it's something we can give you an answer to until we see, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
And then Article 16, school attendance and enrollment. This is something that came out of Brattleboro.
No, this
Oh,
is your
this is ours.
article. This is-
Okay, I'm sorry.
This kind of lends the credence to.
Oh, and no later than
that.
July 1st, 2019. So I think, we'll just let's sit on this, Bill,
Okay.
if everybody's okay with that. Does anybody on the board totally object to that?
Could do it by sea level.
Anybody out there? I know, Mark, you were pretty passionate about this conversation last time.
I just think it would be easier for Bill. I mean,
Bill, would it be easier for you if we gave you a policy?
Well, I don't think you can have a policy until you know what you've tasked me with.
He's saying get it be a guardrail. Do we want it to be a guardrail? I guess is the question, because he's going into his guardrail season right now. Correct?
Yeah, what I want you guys to do is lock down these guardrails.
Okay.
You know, so for
1 through
example,
6.
If the guardrail is the student attendance is defined by town lines, then that means you have to have a 3-year-old program here at Wardsboro.
Yeah, I don't,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we have to have equity. We can't create one program that is open to all. We have to create parallel programs. And that might end up being the answer, but I would rather have the freedom to just reflect back to you guys, and then you tell me, no.
so,
That's kind of
so,
my question.
I think if we're good, and if we were to vote that 1 through 6 are your guardrails, then let's see where you go with that. And then if we need to strengthen something or loosen something, you'll tell us.
What I view this as is these are the guardrails. You guys are gonna come up with some goals.
Yeah.
And then that starts the conversation. Then I'm gonna reflect something back to you. And then you guys are going to say, yeah, no, I'm concerned about this, I really like this, could you think about this? I'm just trying to start this conversation for you guys,
Okay.
based on information.
So for 2 reasons, one, that last meeting was a work session, and number 2, we kind of have an informal agreement amongst the board that, you know, before we actually vote on something major that affects, you know, the group, that we would make sure we discuss it in both towns first. Since I'm not hearing any comments, would somebody like to make a motion that creates number 1 through 6 as our guardrails, to turn over to the superintendent?
I have a question, just about number 5. I mean, I'm not sure we're gonna go through this and discuss them a little bit, or equity in transportation. I'm not sure what that means, I guess. For 7 through 12, does that mean all students have the ability to take a bus to Brattleboro in both schools? Or does that mean,
That's what I would interpret it as.
yeah, so,
I would interpret K through 6 is that you have a transportation plan
Mhm.
that provides for students K through 6 to be able to go to the school.
right.
And that 7 through 12, that it would not be inequitable. So you would not have a bus from Dover going to Brattleboro that is not open to
Open to all
a
students
student
in both-
from
both towns.
all River Valleys.
So I just throwing that out there for equity, you know, what exactly equity means.
Well, he's gonna tell us.
He's gonna tell us.
Because maybe his equity is
And
that
then you're gonna
there's
tell
no
me,
Maybe that's-
that's not what
that's
I
not
was
quite
thinking,
feasible.
exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, any question on any other? Anybody else?
So you want us to move that the 1 through 6 listed as the guardrails for the creation of River Valley's Union School District,
That we approve them?
that we approve them? So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Gary and a second by Rick. Any further discussion? Nothing out there, nothing here?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
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 You've got some guardrails, Mr. Antone.
Okay, thank you.
Go forth. Under old business, I have, review and update the work calendar. So we did, I really think that for something we did back in November,
Pretty close.
we did pretty
We did
good.
all right.
So December through question mark, we have contract negotiations. We got an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss that. January through March, we would have a vision statement.
Check.
Guiding principles, 5 or so. The guardrails, Bill, we just got them. It's a little bit into May, but not bad. Community engagement questionnaire for annual meetings as well as during the town meetings, school district meetings in March. We did that. Good job, guys. March through May, programming in the buildings, curriculum alignment, program enhancement, general discussion, not specific. I think we gave Bill that. Does IB fit in? We talked about transportation, and educational opportunities. Giving that all to you, it's May. June through July, administration develops the specifics of the new Unified School District. So, Bill, what are you gonna be doing June through July?
That,
Summer reading.
We even gave it to you a little early, too.
that's very helpful, actually.
And this is where we let go of the reins, leading ship to our world-class operation and allow the educational experts to do their work in designing the program that they believe meets and encompasses our mission, vision, and guiding principles. After listening to the discussion and work done by the boards during the spring and early summer, the board will still meet. However, these meetings will be for administration to request more guidance from the board and the public so that we as a group, public, administration, and board, are in agreement or common understanding. So the next thing we had on was for August, that the administration unveils the specifics of the River Valley School, and the board and public work with the administration to complete the process, as well as presenting it to the public. And we thought possibly a longer work session, i.e. 3 to 9 p.m. with dinner and entertainment. Staffing, curriculum, grade structure, services, financial requirements, transportation, capital budgeting, equipment, and other needed assets can be discussed in August. So I think we're probably still on target for that, Bill.
Yeah, well, part of the feedback you guys are gonna give me in June and July will crystallize all that, so, yeah.
And then we had September through December that the board and the administration worked to create a FY 2020 budget based on the works. And then the board creates an agenda for the annual FY 20 meeting in February 2019. And then October through November, we work on our secondary school choice tuition to recommend at the annual meeting. And May through October of 2019, building of attendance. I had May through October 2018, but I think we'll change that to, actually, it's not 2019, I'm sorry. It'll be, we have to do that before July 1, 2019. So the only other thing I want to throw in there was Marco Tellini, our treasurer, said at the annual meeting, River Valley meeting in Dover, is that he'd like to see us work on kind of a job description of the treasurer. And I don't think, Bill, that's something that goes more to you. I think that's more our job.
I would
And I
agree.
thought maybe that's something we can do over the next few meetings in the summer, is have Marco come in and see what he's thinking of, and we can work on that if that's okay with people.
Sounds like a good idea.
And then Andy McLean, our treasurer, our clerk, also had some requests about the way we vote and changing, you know, the ballot versus, and he was willing to do it the first year, but would like to see changes if we'd like him to run again or find somebody else to run. So I thought maybe we could have those two people, and maybe over the summer when Bill makes it, basically we'll have Bill making the presentation discussion, and then we could maybe deal with those two issues in our next, you know, in our meetings during June and July to try to, when we get to August, we could maybe include that in our presentation, just so we'll have the best turnout there. Is that okay with everybody? Are you?
I have a separate question.
Yeah.
Looking at, you know, the presentation, and you have it identified in August, this would be Bill's presentation about the structure of what he's looking for this new River Valley's Unified School District as far as staffing needs and a curriculum. That's what you're looking to do as the presentation. I'm just thinking if the ability to do that, to shift that to September, because if you're looking to optimize the amount of people to come, August is prime time vacation, especially before school.
School starts in August, doesn't it?
Well, it starts August 27th, but you're ideally probably having it before.
Well, I think you're both correct in that. I think the August one would be, you guys have given me some feedback in June, you've given me some feedback in July. And so the August one is really for you guys to say, yeah, you hit the guardrails, you hit the goals, you hit our vision. We gave you feedback, and now you guys
Can present.
are gonna present it to your communities. And that would make a lot of sense to do in September.
Right.
August, I'm looking for the board to say, yes, that's our vision for this district. And we've had time to work on it and do that.
I'm just looking ahead for vacation schedules of not making on a day where board members can't be here.
I'll be very honest with you, we will not pick a date that every board member can make, and we will not pick we'll pick whatever date we pick, somebody from the public is gonna say, that's not a good time. The only reason too, we were originally shooting for August is because not only that, but we're building a budget that we don't have any history to be able to work with. We don't have any clues where this is gonna go, how big budget's gonna be. It's gonna be a whole different type of budget because it's combining the two buildings. And I think you're gonna see, we skate on our budgets now because we've done so many of them, they're almost mindless. This is a whole different beast, and it's gonna be a whole different presentation. And especially if it's voted on by ballot, that's new to both groups. I think, and then I know what happens once you get into September is, I got school, I got kids' homework, I got that. That's the only reason why. We've actually had really good turnout at August meetings, believe it or not. And I also think that September, October, November, you're gonna have Wyndham Central, it's gonna have budgets done. And you're still gonna have to prepare for your regular board meetings, or your regular school district meetings, because you do have to have an annual meeting in March of next year, even though it's only for a short period of time. Because you'll have to make sure you still have a full board and so that you can sign stuff. I think you're gonna find that if we shoot for August, we may not get it, but let's shoot for there. If we shoot for September, it's sometimes easy to push it off October, November, and then not get it done. And if we're meeting in February, we have to have the budget done by December.
February.
Yeah, because it's our meetings in February,
Our
so
budget needs to be completed
by December, and you're gonna run into Christmas and snow and more holidays.
Do you have dates in August that you're thinking about doing this
No.
presentation?
We'll probably be really long time, yeah.
No, I would count on you guys deciding in June and July.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's out there now,
And we
so
wanna
people
be
hear about it.
transparent and, as big.
Right, I
Out
just
there,
want
let's
to
say.
point that out of trying to make it a date. Obviously, you can't pick a date that everyone can go, but
Oh, yeah, I definitely know that.
So what that means is that at the June meeting, on June 18th, I will need something to send in by July 10th, which is before our July meeting, so that it appears in the August Bucketville News.
Yeah.
So that's
And we'll-
on the
right.
to-do list for June, is to give me something that I can send in.
And hopefully we can do that, but we may, unfortunately,
Well,
may be
vague,
something,
I
yeah.
mean, just the general wording of it.
And it
is
may
what
be
I'm-
something that we can't get in the Bucketville News in time. So,
Right.
we'll just have to accept, that's a problem with the monthly publication.
Right, and the deadline being so crazy
Yeah.
early.
We at Dover had issues with the Valley News for years because being a weekly paper, we had issues of several times where we couldn't warn things, so we stopped using the Valley News because they're a weekly paper as our official paper. And we just also notify them, and we use Reformer, because if you don't have something in the Valley News by Monday at 5, you can't
Right.
get it in, so you lose a week of time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it doesn't have to be too specific, but just
but even the
general.
date, we may not know the date.
All right.
The date may not appear in the Bucketville News. It may be, pay attention, look out for your notices, and
Correct.
something's coming.
Okay,
I
good.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, because if we don't tell
We
her
don't-
by that.
We won't know till the end of July.
Right.
Right, okay.
But thank you for that. Okay, I think we've beat that horse. Do we vote? We've had a motion, a second, we had discussion, we voted. Do we vote?
No, it was just
Okay.
discussion, we didn't go on.
So is there any more discussion on the guidelines?
You voted.
Did we vote?
Yeah, we voted.
You voted?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I thought we did.
early enough.
Yeah, you're on the work calendar.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't have to vote on the work calendar, so we're okay, well, I'll make those adjustments on the work calendar.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
sounds good.
Okay. And then new business, set the goals for approval at the next meeting. You got me off when you were back to the goals. Sorry, Matt. No, not you, Nita. New business, set the goals for approval at the next meeting. So because we meet, because we try to do things in both towns, we need to give Bill some goals so he can measure if he's meeting our expectations. So, wow, that was cool. Did you make copies of this to bring?
Yes.
So there's a thing that Bill got, which is the goals for the West River Group.
I gotta call you.
So there's they had
Thank you.
5 goals. So I kind of, just to help us move along a little bit, we don't, you guys can do whatever you want, but from all the meetings and stuff, 5, from previous meetings and discussions, there's the few things that we pushed out there. Thought of was, one was student outcomes, because that's something that's measurable and that can be reported to us to see if things are happening and going well. Fiscal responsibility, parental involvement, community outreach, and personal learning plan for each student. And as a subsection of that, somebody's been calling it student say or student voice or student speaks. So those were the 5 I kind of thought we could start, at least give us a point to start discussion. And then the West River Valley had, 100% graduate from high school. That's kind of hard for us. We could say 100% graduate from elementary school, but I'm pretty sure we do that now. All students demonstrate proficiency and growth in an equitable environment. In an equitable environment, necessary systems, staffing, and resources to do their best work. Families, community are engaged, and students have a personalized learning experience. That's required under state law, the personalized learning plan for only high school students, right, Bill?
7 through 12.
7 through 12. So we can do that, but it's not required. So for us to do that could be, an interesting little twist for, and it may not look the same as a high school student's PL, personalized learning plan, but it could help parents feel comfortable knowing where their children are going, and maybe not so much for the child in preschool, but maybe for the child in 4th or 5th grade or 6th grade. It may help them as they move forward into 7th through 12th grade to kind of understand the process and be better prepared to make sure it works better for them. So that is, that's all I got to say on that, so let's have some discussion. Not all at once.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Definitely in favor.
Well, it's the measurement that I think we need to discuss, right? Are we gonna measure each of these things? Student outcome?
Yeah.
Student outcome, we looking at how we gonna measure that?
I think you measure that by your assessments, because both towns measure assessments in different ways, or is everybody doing assessments the same now, Bill?
You have Wardsboro and Dover are both participating in the EQS required local comprehensive assessment system. You may do additional things, but you're definitely doing the core. You all participate in the Smarter Balanced Assessment, or SBAC, for grades 3 through 6. That's part of the Vermont Accountability Plan. This year you are doing the Next Generation Science Standards in grade 4. This is a pilot year, but next year it will be required, and that's happening in both. We're doing the fitness gram assessments. That's through the Physical Education and Health, and that is happening this year in, I believe it's 3 through 6. I have to check with that. You are participating in all the educational quality reviews. You get an annual snapshot. Every 3 years you get a integrated field review. You do continuous improvement plans specifically for each district. You get measured on your progress toward achievement on your continuous improvement plan and your equity index through your annual snapshots. So all of those that are there are, you guys are currently doing them. So we would be talking with Matt and Tammy to find out if there are other measures that are not included in something like that that would need to be required.
And everything you mentioned is required?
Yes.
Yes.
Did I hit that, Tam?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, we're always going to do individual things in different classrooms and different,
I
kindergarten
get that,
teacher
but I'm
might.
saying, I mean, we have to come up with a measurement for each of these things, correct? I mean,
You
how
do.
we gotta measure student outcomes, we're gonna throw all of those things in one thing and say, okay.
Well, since those are
our goal
already
is-
collected, that's
Mhm.
why I suggested them to the
Mhm.
other group.
Yep.
So you're not creating a new
Mhm.
measurement tool. It's what you guys have been using as an individual Wardsboro district and an individual Dover district to kind of check your achievement levels. So
But our goal is to be proficient in all of those outcomes. Is that going to be our goal? I guess that's what my question. I'm
That
a
is-
little confused.
That would be your goal, yes, whether you achieve it or not.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
our goal would be.
Well, we had this discussion at West River, and so that's why they had demonstrate proficiency and growth, so that you could report on both. So you could have, we have so many students that are proficient, but what is our change year over year? What is our cohort change? What's happening between third and fourth grade? What's happening between fourth and fifth grade? As well as how are we showing proficiency, having both of those at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, it's what your principals are providing the boards now in their annual report at the end of the year.
So in setting a goal, we would set a goal to become,
You would,
for you,
your goal would
to
be
ensure
that the system that you create would allow all students to demonstrate proficiency and growth.
in all monitored programs.
No, I would just keep it as all students will demonstrate proficiency and growth.
But use those as your model too.
And use the things that we're already measuring,
Oh,
because,
no, I'm not asking you to create another measurement tool. I'm just saying what would be prudent for us to use as a measurement tool.
well, since
Everything
these
that
are
you just
already
named off.
occurring,
Exactly.
I think that would be
Do
very
we need to
prudent.
name all of those in the goal then?
No,
Okay,
the
thank you.
M is just the measurement. Those are just examples for you.
Great.
Yeah, all you need is a goal.
Great.
Because you're right, could be a paragraph-long goal.
Exactly, and that's not helpful.
Well, I think our goals are always to improve, to be better than the year before.
Which is why you would have growth in there.
Right.
Because you don't want to just be proficient, because
It's not really.
if you could actually
It's not a high goal.
drop
And
and
become
still be
Still
proficient.
be proficient,
Right,
exactly.
right.
I mean, what did we used to use back in the olden days when you were still in Dover? Wasn't it consistent forward progress or something? What was that term we had?
It was definitely, it was consistent and it was progress. I don't remember the exact term, but it's.
And I'm sure there was an acronym for it.
No, there
Sure.
was never.
Creative.
No, but you know, you'll see some schools will like peak for 1 year.
Yeah.
But if you can show, you know, like even if you lose a little bit, but if you draw an arrow through the median and it's on an incline, that's good, because there is gonna be ups and downs. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some classes that just, everybody in the class excels, and then there's some classes are harder than others, and even if it drops a little, but it doesn't drop so far so that if you draw that line through the middle of the field,
Right.
it's tilted up.
This year's third grade is not the same as next year's third grade, or
Right.
the year after, the year prior. We understand that.
Right, and we want to look longitudinal.
Exactly. Those same students over time.
Those same students over time, and just like what Tammy was talking about, that we're actually investigating on an ongoing basis, not just waiting year over year, but daily, weekly, monthly, and then testing our hypothesis that our change is actually making the change we expected it to.
And not testing for like scores, but just assessing to see where we're at.
The score should be a reflection of the high-quality instruction. It's not the goal. That's the reflection. The goal is high-quality instruction. But it's hard to measure high-quality instruction without measuring the student outcome.
Okay.
How we doing?
Continuous progress, I guess.
There you go, Bill.
Okay?
Creative doc. Fiscal responsibility, how do we want to?
How do we measure fiscal? I think you measure fiscal responsibility by getting budgets approved.
Yep.
Budgets that the community can buy into. I mean, I also, it's hard to say, it's hard to put it, but it's also nice when you don't have a lot of people complaining about the budget. Even if you get it approved and you still have half the people saying, I would never would have voted for it, so. Public sentiment. What do you think for fiscal responsibility, Bill? What's your measurement of that? The budget passes?
That, So we had a deep discussion of this at West River, and it's very difficult to be fiscally responsible if your community doesn't support you by passing your budget. The discussion they had was trying to figure out if there was, could you get more granular than that? But then they got into the discussion of, was that too restrictive to shoot for, you know, a cost per pupil or something of that nature. They settled on the idea that they weren't going to create a specific fiscal responsibility goal until I gave them a system that matched their design. But they did give me a attempt at, while the building was happening, could you try to achieve this certain cost per pupil? And then, but not have that be constraining. Meet the goals with this financial reality over here, but go ahead and surpass that or go below that as long as it meets the goals, but come back and explain why you did what you did. But it was helpful to have some things. For example, if your goal is that the voters will pass a budget, then I am free to design any system in here that I think meets your goals and your guardrails, but there's really no fiscal constraint because I have no clue if your communities are gonna pass that budget or not.
So, can I throw something out
Depends
there,
on loading.
Keith?
That's why you're talking.
So, a budget that the voters can support and approve, that's defendable and in line with past spending practices of the individual districts.
A budget that,
It has voter support and approval, that is defendable to the public,
okay,
and is similar to the previous budgets supported by the individual communities.
okay,
And that kind of gives you a little bit of a guideline.
yes.
You know what the two towns have supported, you know what they've kind of been looking for,
Yeah, no, that,
and I don't know if I really like defensible, because that almost sounds like we're on the defense right away, but I think it's, what I'm saying is defensible, that we could sit up here and with a straight face to anybody in the community, say, we support this budget and this is why.
Justifiable.
Justifiable?
that's a better
I mean, it's a
word.
synonym in essence, but
I
Takes the word
could
defense
go
out.
with that.
Different connotation.
A budget that
Yeah.
voters support
And approve.
and approve, justifiable, and similar to previous budgets supported by communities. I mean, I can work with the language, but
Or even
Last year
in
I
line
calculated in
with
Wardsboro was
previously
$100 per
supported
kid per
budgets.
day.
in line. Okay.
I mean, does it go without saying, or you should say that it meets the needs and have the resources necessary
defining a budget.
for the district? or
Well, I
that
think
kind-
it has
That kind of
to.
goes without
That's what they
saying,
say.
right? Yeah, okay, that's what I said.
I don't think we, I think that's part of our.
Well, that is just they have
justifiable.
on number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Oh.
on this one here.
Sorry. There it is. Oh, I got it from somewhere.
They also have a lot tougher time sometimes passing budgets and then.
All right, so can I just do a thought experiment for you guys? If, and I don't know, let's say the cost per pupil in Wardsboro is $1.50 and the cost per pupil in Dover is $1.60. Would that suppose that I should be building something that is in a range between $1.50 and $1.60? Is that the kind of thinking you're thinking? I mean, if it comes out at $1.62, I would say, this is what you guys asked me to
I
create,
mean, not necessarily.
but it wouldn't be $2. And it wouldn't be
I don't even
$1.10.
know if
I don't know
if
if
when we
it's looking
say
that way.
budget, that we're
Okay.
even talking about a number. I'm
Okay.
talking, a budget is more than just the numbers. A budget, those numbers represent certain things, and I think
Right.
it's more representative of the content of the budget.
Right, that's what I was getting at.
Okay. So do you want to make that separate, or do you want to attach it?
It's the same thing, I thought, same thought.
I think that's powerful enough. I mean, because right now we have a budget that voters support and approve, it's justifiable, and it's in line to previous budgets supported by communities.
Right, right. And I think that, again, they're used to seeing administrators in both buildings, so the budget probably should have something similar to that.
Okay.
Because and then it's got so many staff in each building, and unless there's a big reason to make big changes in that.
Okay.
But then maybe you say, I can do that because it does, I can have the same numbers, it's just they move around or whatever.
Yeah, no, I got it. That's helpful. I just wanted to make sure that we got what you were thinking. Dwight?
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that for fiscal responsibility, or do we want to add anything? Yeah.
No, I'm just looking, what Dwight's saying is really right up there anyway, so it's all part of this whole, you know what I mean? It's-
Right.
Yeah,
It has to-
that's why I said it could
Yeah.
be the
Boom,
same.
boom. So it's
I
that,
mean, these are all
that,
things
your
you're gonna-
guardrails,
You're gonna
and
take
your
this into
goals.
consideration too, obviously,
Absolutely.
when you're
That's
doing
why I
it,
said it
so.
goes without saying, yeah, exactly.
Are you okay?
Said it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I wanted to make sure it was up
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
If you're talking about budgets, though,
Community
as
to
part
ensure
of,
sufficient resources are available.
Exactly.
part of our top 6 guardrails was also about a subsection in there, finding cost savings, which I know Bill had brought up about, like you
Yeah.
want, we don't want to have less than what we have now. We want to expand education opportunities, and Bill reminded us that when we expand and add, that usually involves spending more instead of cost
See,
saving.
and not always, because
No,
as an
right.
example, in Dover years ago, we had early education through Wyndham Central, and we were able to expend a little bit more money, but get a lot more bang for our buck by doing something in-house versus going out and buying it from a group service. So there's the ability for him to change the way the resources are utilized, or what the resources are, to get more bang for his buck, I think. So he can save some money. And, we saved a lot of money by getting out of the Wyndham Central thing and doing our own thing. So we still had a preschool program, it was just,
Sure.
it was a better preschool program at a lesser cost.
Over time,
Yeah, first year,
but you had to invest
yeah,
to save.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think Carrie's bringing up the point that, those top 3 things, you may not have any cost savings. If you're hitting that, and you're hitting that, and you're hitting your guardrails, and you're hitting your goals.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I was not thinking, I was thinking of the guidance counselor, where we were, the reimbursement was going to central
Sure.
office. We got a
And
little
we did
bit.
Medicaid.
And then we got Medicaid,
In-house.
so we saved money, we got better services and
Right.
more. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think any of us are unrealistic, are we here, Barry, you included, that, what you come back with is probably going to be costing more per pupil than, you know what I mean?
That's, I just
You know,
wanted to set
I don't
those
think any of us
expectations.
really have the expectation that you're gonna come back to us and say, I'm gonna save you $1,500 a student, I'm gonna give you more services, I'm gonna give you better services. I don't think that
Well,
any of us.
I actually think he will.
I don't know.
Huh?
I'm not-
I think he's
I
good.
have confidence in him.
Okay. Well, let's see what he comes back with. I don't know if I have that much confidence in him.
No,
I think you're a very bright man, Bill, don't get me wrong.
That's great.
We'll see what we get.
But I don't know if you're a magician.
And remember, I don't care about the per pupil spending, because that doesn't equate to anything. The big thing is what are we paying in tax dollars? What's it costing us to do that? To do that, I mean, if you come back with a $30,000 per pupil cost, but yet we're being taxed at a rate lower than what we were taxed at before, so be it.
That's where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah. The rubber is actually the dollars that people have to write the check for in August or September in Dover, and I don't know when you guys write your
But then your
checks.
CLA goes way up, and all of this savings just goes out the window anyway,
Yeah.
so. We won't even go there, though.
Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah, no, a budget that voters support and approve, justifiable to citizens, and in line to previous budgets supported by communities. Okay.
parental involvement. So my thought here is that each school board member drags 2 parents to a board meeting. Or we go with Carrie's idea and we just hold board meetings in people's houses, and it can be like a game show.
I never thought of that idea, but that is a snazzy idea.
Like we all just, the get the video guy there and Peter, and we all like just knock on somebody's door and say, hey, you won the lottery. We're holding our board meeting today. This one's hard.
Measurement tool.
Yeah, this one's hard. It's easier for the other group. They're collapsing 5 school districts. So this was extremely important to systematize something. And because there was a model available during the Articles of Agreement building of creating essentially, what are they called? School advisory committees in each building. That was an idea that was interesting to them. You guys have 2 buildings, 2 towns. You have equal representation on the board. So I don't know if you have the same challenge that they had, but you guys still have the exact same interest in making sure that you had long-term, ongoing parent and community involvement. So.
Tammy, can I ask you a quick
Sure.
question? I mean, what percentage of the parents do you think are involved in your school community that show up to concerts and teacher
Well-
conferences and?
So I would say we have a participation-wise, very good participation. Volunteering, I would say, is less than like an event, attendance at an event. For example, we have fewer people volunteering to, coach a sports team,
Like Little League?
like Little League,
I saw
versus.
some guy like striking every kid out down there, this
I hit a couple too.
Yeah, right? Yeah, just brush them back. It might have been.
So I think there's two different.
So we should look at it at 2 different levels, participation in school events and volunteering,
Right.
you think?
Sure.
I think they're 2 different
Okay,
issues.
good.
I thought it was quite good. So, I mean, were you given, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of parents are involved, maybe just for my grades, but, because there's so many ways to be involved, You've got sport, now sports is just one example, but school club, school trips, winter sports. I see all the parents helping out, maybe it's just me.
I feel like we have a lot of the same parents volunteering for the same.
For everything, yeah, all right.
Thank you.
There's
Right.
a core group, all right, maybe I only see those guys.
There's 5 or 6 people that volunteer for everything.
Bill, what about when you were in Dover and like Whitingham? I mean, do you see good parental, like school, like through reports, the parent-teacher conferences, are those 100% attended?
It depends on how much you promote it and provide value to it. I think that when we changed the report card about 4 or 5 years ago, and parents really wanted to understand what it meant, you had really high attendance. I know that both Tammy and Matt have really worked at having students participate in those conferences, so then it becomes much more meaningful for the parent. I think it's important that you guys have as a goal a commitment to having families and community involved. And then how we measure that or how we go about doing that can change and evolve over time. And it might not be precise right now, but that came up in all your surveys.
Right.
It came up in all your discussions. And so we don't want to lose sight that we want to do that.
Does anybody on the board have any kind of idea how you measure that or how you can tell the outcomes? And if not, what we can do is we can just throw this back at the professionals.
Well, I think you can measure attendance at parent-teacher conferences and school events and things like that. I mean,
But is that
that's
the
a
measurement we
pretty
want to
easy-
use?
Yeah,
Or is it more important to be like, Tammy's saying, volunteers, when they need something in the school, they need help, do they get the help or not? Or do enough people come out? I mean, I don't know. I haven't had a kid in school
I think
in a
it's
few
both.
years. Well, I think, I like the idea of volunteerism and participation being,
Right.
kind of like 2 subcategories,
Sure.
but I just don't know how do you measure it. I mean, I would think that every parent would come to a parent-teacher conference, but I don't know, maybe they don't.
We have pretty solid participation as far as parent-teacher
So
conferences go.
would maintaining that be a measurement? So like if all of a sudden we start losing parents coming, is that a sign we're not doing a good job?
They're too good a job.
I don't think you could really create a parent report card.
Why not? Takes a village to raise a child, doesn't it?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of where the discussion is going, is like creating a parent report card,
I think
you
you
know.
can. I think you
But
can.
I mean,
We're not
You know.
grading their participation, we're just grading if they participate. So it's more like
That's the next
it's
step.
more like going to gym class, as long as you got
Just
that
need to
check
show
mark,
up.
you're okay.
You have to fail.
Yeah.
Is this limited to just parents, students, or are you expanding it to kind of?
Well,
again,
this
the vision,
this was
vision?
parental involvement.
Community, we left this as separate.
The kids have to be involved, they have to come here or they're truant.
Right, no, I'm talking about expanding it to including community.
No, because I think we got community next,
Yeah,
community outreach
so where are you reading
communications,
from?
right here.
the agenda.
Sorry, I stole it from us.
Yeah, that's, okay.
And I don't know, Carrie, you're right, we could include that. I mean, this was just kind of a guideline that,
So,
you know, when
It's just
Rick and I
how do you
meet,
measure community
Right.
involvement?
so this is not
It's a tougher
a,
one.
like,
You gotta measure all
guideline,
these.
how we gonna outreach, this is what our expectations for
we
parents.
we want to see parental involvement, we've said that several times. How do we tell if we're getting parental involvement? How is that a goal, how is that goal measurable so we can see that we're achieving our goal of parental involvement? I mean, you know, I know
Well, the
Carrie, one
easiest
of
is-
your things when you first got on the board was you want to see more participation of parents coming to school board meetings or community. You know, but do we measure that? And again, I've always joked, I can get you a lot of parents at a school board meeting really easily. Or, you know, do we measure it by, the number of parents who, you know, sign up to come help serve food at the community dinner? You know, and I think you guys do Thanksgiving and Dover does Christmas or vice versa. You know, is that your measurement? And you know, one of the things is we can ask Bill for some input, and his staff, but, you know, if that's one of our goals, and then we also then need to know how to measure it to make sure we're achieving our goal, or is it not a worthy goal? Maybe we don't care if there's parental involvement.
I think we should, I think it should be an expectation, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Logistically though, I mean, unless you're gonna, everybody's gonna keep a list of every event or something,
No, but-
of who volunteered, I mean, how do you really?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
You
you could ask whoever's running the specific event what their opinion of it was, I suppose.
I mean,
You
it's
know?
not hard for somebody in the class to say this many people showed up for the author's tea or whatever it is.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's not difficult to measure. It's not difficult to say 55 people showed up for the holiday concert, is it?
Right.
Right. Well, and a lot of those things we have to do anyway, because we're accepting Title I dollars,
Right.
so.
Right.
Part of our
Okay.
assurances for Title I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If nobody has anything specific, Bill, can you maybe, for the next meeting
Mhm.
in Dover, come back with some, maybe help us flush that one out a little more?
Okay.
It seems like the first couple we're doing pretty good with, that one we're struggling a little.
Next one's
And instead of
worse.
just spinning our wheels,
Okay.
Isn't it in the articles, I know we talked about having committees, advisory committees early on, that never made it into the
no,
articles.
because we were a small group.
Right.
And we were having all our articles had very similar representation in, for
Right.
the buildings. The ones like West River that Bill was talking about. How many, you got like almost half of them are at-large members, or?
No, there's 11 members, 2 are at-large, but
Okay.
you have 5 communities, and then you have at-large, so you have 6 representations.
There can be some, though, from the bigger communities, there can be some pretty heavy representation. I mean,
Yeah.
enough to direct, to move the board.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What, Newfane gets how many?
Newfane has 3,
And if they get the 2 at-large members, they've got almost 50% of the board.
right?
Mhm.
It's a big deal.
Anita?
I guess my thought was, does the school itself and the board itself need to start every school year with sort of a, here's what's expected of parents letter? Like, yeah, you're sending your kid to school, but we need you to do the following at some point, in addition to your parent-teacher conferences. I mean,
But we have a handbook anyway, right? Both schools have a handbook that they pass out to all the students that the parents are supposed to read and sign off on. I'm assuming they
yeah,
have that
so
handbook
they
also.
are aware of
So I
what's
mean, they are
expected
aware
of
of
them.
what, you know, what is expected of them as a parent.
Are there specific expectations in the handbook?
You can read through it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, Dwight recited it to me the other day, I'll vouch for him.
Well, I just think it's a good idea, I mean, if it's not in
It's
there.
called
say-
the homeschool compact.
That's right.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay. Did you want to say any more, Dan?
No, it's
Oh.
just, we have that, and it is in our handbook, and ours also follows along with our PBA, yeah, so it goes along with ROARs, parents are responsible by, helping their kids with homework,
Mhm.
so.
Do they all come back?
They do, we hound them until they don't.
So like you meet them outside in the parking lot, chase them down the hill?
Yeah.
Sir?
Marlboro specifies work hours
Right. Yeah,
for the parents.
sure.
I mean,
You can.
it's packed.
Right.
Okay. So, Bill, you got some ideas?
I do.
Do you have anything else you need from us on that one?
No,
To help you? You're good? So let's move over then to community outreach and communications. Anita, yay! And the video guy, yay! And the newspaper lady, yay!
what is
I
this
gave
one
you a
titled?
bigger yay. This is community outreach and communications.
Okay.
And Mark, I think, thank you with the better URL. It's actually in the Bucketville News,
That's right.
that there's an easier way to find us.
I wonder if people are actually going.
I don't know, do we have any way to figure that out?
I thought you were gonna
If-
put a counter thing on it.
Yeah, did you ever add that?
I never added a hit counter, but I
Not
haven't
the hit
even,
counter, the,
analytics, I
The
haven't
analytics.
looked at it.
Can you look at it for us and just send us an
Yeah.
email?
Yeah.
Or if Mark's coming to the next one, maybe talk with Mark and he can let us know.
Sure, I'll look, I just,
Yeah,
that would
I'd just be
better.
kinda interested. So that's how we may be able to know if we're getting better community outreach, if our hit counter goes up. I figured, if everybody on the board got signed to contracts for hit movies and shows, then we've got some outreach and our video guy, became a new producer, cameraman for some crazy
the
movie or
school
something.
board Oscars.
Yeah, there you go. So community outreach and communications, I think we're reaching out pretty well. I think we're doing about a lot. I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Again, I think by the goal, I get to be very honest, some of the responses to the questionnaire bothered me a little bit, where people said, I never heard of this, or, I didn't know anything about this. But again, I really don't know how else, unless we go to everybody's house individually and knock on their door and say, I think we tried during the committee.
Right.
We met in all the different towns, we videotaped, we had good minutes, maybe we had the presence from Anita. I think a Facebook page is really difficult to do, because we discussed, we didn't want to get into a, back and forth type conversation.
We talked about the Facebook at the Wardsboro meeting, and the board was actually kind of surprised that we didn't have a page. But I explained what you just said, how we didn't want to have that back and forth. And so I'm no expert in Facebook, but I understand you can just have a page where just give information with no ability to have any kind of discussion.
No comments?
No comments. I don't know if that's true. Anybody knows?
You can't turn it off.
You can't turn it. That's not possible.
No.
So I thought, all right. So
That person didn't know for
They don't know. They know less than me.
Well, that's the thing on the blog, is that I have turned off comments.
Right.
Right,
There
you
are
can't do
no
that.
comments, but if there,
Facebook, you have no choice. You
if
have to be
there-
able to allow comments to.
right, if there were comments on the
Okay.
blog, I could arrange for them to be moderated.
Right.
So all comments would come to us first,
Mhm.
and we'd decide, okay, we're gonna post that one or not post that one.
Right.
So that's the option on the blog site, but on
Well,
Facebook,
Anita, just before you get off of that though, wasn't that one of the conversations we had during the study group, that if we ignored something, then it looks even worse, and
that's
that,
my personal feeling is that,
okay, so,
that,
and I don't disagree with
because
you.
I think people expect a nearly instantaneous reply. I check the email every weekday and maybe once on the weekends to be sure that I'm not going more than 48 hours that somebody sent an email and didn't get an answer. So, but in Facebook, people are expecting engagement within 5 minutes, not 5 days.
Yeah.
Or
that's too
or
bad.
a month, if we're only
Maybe a
meeting
month,
once a
yeah.
month.
All right,
Right.
and it does say on the blog site, any questions you ask will be brought to the next meeting. It doesn't say, we're gonna answer your question, by the time
Mm.
we finish reading your comment. So I get that, and you all aren't running an event. You're running a para-government
Mm.
function. You know what I mean? If you were if school boarding was an event, then I could say, okay, you know, lots of razzle dazzle and.
We'd get gold medals. We
But
could be on the Wheaties box.
5 stars.
Oh, everyone gets a gold medal.
I personally think that people don't like to come to the school for meetings. I think that if you held the meetings in other places, like town hall or bars or something, people would come.
Well, you know what?
I think people
Virtual.
don't physically like coming to the
But
school building.
We've had meetings, we had study committee meetings, and we had meetings of this group at the town hall in Dover. We got no better turnout.
Right.
But that's a good point. Bill?
I got it.
No, do
I
you
think
you
it's
can-
just
do
a
you think you
mental
can get-
thing.
Do you think you can get us a bar? And a bar tab for the next board meeting?
I think it's
I'll
just a
be there.
mental thing that if it's at the school, it doesn't apply to me, because I don't have kids in school, or I don't have kids that age, or whatever. I just think it's like people separate the two. School is school and community is something else. And it's a funny thing in people's heads, I think.
What do you guys think of that, from the board?
And measuring participation for the community, I think one of the ways is by how much we offer as far as ability for the community to participate. And we do, I think, a pretty good job about that, of all different, by having it recorded, by having, through Buckettville News, through a blog, through minutes that are posted throughout the community. So you might not be able to measure tangibly in numbers coming to these events, but really by the amount or the different ways of communicating that we do. We do a pretty good job of, you know, other than knocking on doors randomly to people and saying, so do you have any questions for us? Or would you like a summary of what happened last week?
So the goal is that you guys will have regular and ongoing community outreach and communication.
I don't know that you want to say community outreach. I think you want to say available sources of information or available sources and resources or something, maybe. Community outreach implies
That we're going to the community and trying to reach them?
Right, and instead you just want to say, look, we're going to make all this information as much as we possibly can available to you as easy as we make it for you to get it, and multiple places, multiple resources, multiple things.
So maybe we don't want to use that term community outreach, we want to just do community communications.
Board provides updated and ongoing information to community.
You guys all good with that?
Yes.
And then maybe the way you
And
measure.
easily accessible sources, locations, whatever you want to say.
Mark is thinking.
Diverse
something.
forms.
Through a
I-
variety
I'm-
of sources.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Right.
And
Yes, you can. You hold its head underwater.
it's not gonna drink though.
Right.
It's gonna
So
buck.
That's why the goal is just providing.
Yeah.
Well, that's, and again, I think one of your measurements, your outcomes is, you know, if we get good support at budget votes, that means we're doing a pretty decent job. And there isn't a reason for people to be upset. Either they understand it or it's not that important to them that it matters that much. I mean, again, going back to Jim Burke, you know, don't be nervous when nobody comes to your meeting. Be nervous when everybody comes to your meeting. Because there's a reason they're there. They're pretty happy with what we're doing and the direction we're headed, right?
I mean, I think you could put in that bill through multimedia outlets or something, since it's video, it's printed, it's online, it's newspaper. I mean, we are hitting a multimedia campaign here.
So you guys really don't want to try it at a local tavern one time and just see if we get better participation and turnout?
You can try it.
Well, I
No.
mean, not like that exactly, although that would be pretty interesting, but when you're talking about parent involvement and community, communications, are you looking also to combine these two different groups in
No.
one medium as well?
No, I think that's why we're separating them out, because I think there's certain things we need to communicate to parents
Right.
that maybe the
Don't
whole
apply.
community, doesn't apply to the whole community. Like, I think the NIC thing, in a broad term, is, hey, we got this great new program for the community to understand that we're not just sitting on our hands and waiting for things to happen, we're trying to make things happen.
Mhm.
But I think for the parents, they're gonna wanna know, are you experimenting with my kid? I remember some meetings in Dover early on, like, you know, well, you've tried this program for 3 years, now it doesn't work, I've lost half my child's elementary education here, you know? So they need different and more information, I think, and it's available because anybody can come. So that's why I think those two have always kind of been separated, parents not because they're better or worse or any, I just think because they require, you know, maybe a little bit more specifics on certain things, and the community just wants to know that, hey, that check I write every year,
Right.
you know, I'm getting something for my bucks, and the kids are happy, and, you know, hey, there's a decent building, and, you know, the staff is working hard for me, and it's a worthwhile function.
When I was in school, my father was a teacher and my mother was on the school board. It was like, that's all they talked about was school.
Mark, I'm sorry.
Probably the one thing that could consider, but I think you'd run up against some open meeting laws, is live streaming meetings.
We've actually even tried having teleconference meetings at Leland and Gray with their high-speed internet, and I gotta tell you, it's a horror show. In smaller groups, I think it's worked, like we had an executive session once and we had a person call in. And that wasn't bad because it was, you know, kind of controlled and only a few people. But when we tried it at Leland and Gray, I think, Bill, that was before your time.
It was definitely within my time.
And it was, and I think Leland and Gray has tried it a few times at their board meetings, and it's very difficult. I mean, I'm sure things will get better.
I'm thinking more of a one-way out. You'd continue the board meetings, but instead of it just being recorded,
Oh.
you're live streaming it. But like I said, I think you run up against part of the participation aspect of the public meeting laws by doing that.
We could do it you could do that as long as you allow people to come in and participate.
You can't, they'd have to
They'd
physically
have
come
to
in.
physically
Right.
come.
Yeah, and as long as the other problem with it is like if you were to allow call-in stuff, you can't just allow certain people to call in. Like I can't say,
Right.
Mark, I like you, so why don't you call in and we'll let you participate in the meeting. You have to make it available to everybody who may want to come, and that includes any public. So, I mean, we could have people from Burlington wanting to participate. I think we could project it out there, as long as we don't show favoritism. Like if we said it can get projected anywhere, we couldn't say we're only gonna project that to your house and your house. That's where I think we would have an issue. Or if only certain people are allowed to respond back. But as long, and that wherever we did that would have to be in a public, it'd have to be an open public meeting.
I think you'd have a nightmare
Oh,
if you streamed out and welcomed people to call in. That would be a nightmare.
So
You could make it a really interesting video.
No.
Tell us your thoughts on that, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So are we okay if we Bill, we've given you enough on,
Yeah, I got 4 really solid ones.
well, the last one is the personal learning plan for each student. So again, required for 7 through 12, it wouldn't be the same, but we would have to, so if that was something we would like to see as part of a goal, I think we also have to or Bill, would you give us guidance on what a personalized learning plan for an elementary student would look like? Or would it be something that you would maybe start and only have for like 4, 5, and 6? And you know, we get some input, so let's have that conversation.
Yeah, I would definitely want to talk to Tammy and Matt about the reality of doing that. What would that look like? What would that feel like? What are you guys trying to accomplish by having it? Are you trying to accomplish, a document that provides for student voice and a template to have structured conversations with parents? Well, then that would be something that I would talk to your administrators about, and how would that play out? Are you doing it simply because it happens in 7 through 12 and you feel like you guys should be doing something like that in elementary school? I would really challenge you guys to think about why would you want that?
I don't know if you could measure it, but one thing you could do is do student-led conferences during conference time. So having the kids lead the conference,
Oh,
student-led conferences versus just
Some-
teacher and parents.
that's optional, isn't it? Some teachers do that, don't they?
Right, so the difference would be that the board expects that
Right.
happens.
Isn't wrong.
Right.
So, one of the reasons I thought this was kind of a cool thing is, all of a sudden you get to 7th grade, not only is it this new adventure, because you're in a whole different building with a lot more students, and you're all thrown together, it's not just my little group from Newfane or Dover or Wardsboro anymore, and there's a whole bunch of changes going on, and if we can prep them, and my thought was, if this is something that's gonna be required, and they've already had some experience with it, it just is one less thing that's scary to them, and maybe not as much of a challenge, and maybe gives them some direction. And I've always used myself as an example. In Mrs. Twitchell's class, I did really, really well because I was really into fire trucks at the time, and algebra and friction loss and pumps is all about algebra. And in geometry in Mr. Redfield's class, I can't tell you probably 3 things I learned in there, if I learned that much. But gosh darn it, every time now when we're trying to lay a deck out or a building or something, boy, I wish I paid a lot more attention. And I think if there had been this, if I had been told more how this fits into real life and why it's important, not just because I have to go to high school and because I have to be in that class, if that can be, there's some other classes I took that I don't even know why I was there. French is another one. And if I could get to direct kind of what I'm doing, and even I know with the inquiry-based stuff with the IB program, the students have to come up with a project. So isn't this kind of leading to that too? So part of my personal learning plan is I'm really into history. I want to know more about the colonial era. So I want to focus on that, and maybe for my math class, there's something that I can focus on, colonial era, banking or something, because that takes a couple things in. I remember Mrs. Backus one time had a special ed student that was really having trouble with getting him to read, and I brought him in a driver's manual, and because he really wanted to get his license, that really helped him. So I just didn't know, putting that all together, could maybe help some students really focus and get more out of the education, and also better prepared for high school, so that when they got into the 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th grade, they're a step ahead of all the other students.
I think you've given some good, yeah. I'd like to think on that, like what would that, I think.
And then you'll come back with what you think is
give
an
you guys
attainable goal,
something
possibly?
in 2 weeks.
Because, to me, the goal of that's really easy. If we decide we want to do it, that, by year 4, by year 2, every 6th grader, and maybe by year 4, every 5th grader.
Yep.
Mark?
Just a question, can you give a brief primer on what a personalized learning plan is? Is it something that's created by the students, by the parents, teacher?
All together?
All the above.
It's a requirement under the law that came before Act 46 for all 7th through 12th graders to have a personalized learning plan that is student-driven with parent participation, and the teacher really is the facilitator. They are not the creator. And it's really exactly what Rich just talked about. It's trying to document on an ongoing basis students' participation in their own learning, because Vermont is moving towards a proficiency-based graduation requirement. And part of that is students being able to design a project in geometry that is not taking a test, but building a car or a soapbox, and then explaining the 5 major concepts that happen in geometry and how they used them in building that item.
It's like declaring a major, only you're 7 years old.
Well, and I'm not thinking of it in, I think you have to start a little piece of it as they're younger,
Yeah.
just so that it builds, so that it's not like all of a sudden, and again, they get into 7th grade and all of a sudden, it's a whole different world there.
You're trying to prepare them for that environment.
I've always wished that, that we had true middle school models where you had 4 years of middle school and 4 years of high school, and or a good, 6, 7, and 8, at least 3 years. But because it's really, it's in the bigger cities, like in, where kind of all go from your elementary school into your middle school and into your high school. It's different than when you dump all these little elementary schools into a bigger middle school. You know, not only are you in a new building in a strange environment with different kids, and you're moving around in classes where before you just sat in the one desk, and I think it just helps with the transition. Some kids do it very well and some kids don't. Any comments on that from the board? Ready to move forward? Up there, everybody good? Okay. Bill, have we given you a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, I think I have something to reflect back to you.
So why don't you bring some goals and measurements to us for the next meeting
Okay.
that we can vote on? And then we voted on your kind of your guardrails, so you should have that. You've got a mission and a vision.
Yep. Guys have done
You've
pretty
got
well there.
you've got a great team under you. You've got great support from your boards. That was a compliment to us. And then,
Well justified.
and you can start moving forward.
Yeah, no, this is really helpful.
Cool.
Very helpful.
That is all for tonight, folks.
The next meeting is the 15th?
Is that right?
That's right.
Yes.
What's that? On the bottom of this is
21st, right?
No, I got the wrong date.
I just wanted to point it out.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Next meeting, May 21st at Dover. Bill.
We have an executive session.
Yeah, no, we got that, that's fine. And then the following meeting will be June 18th at Dover, so we'll have 2 in a row at Dover, and then July 23rd in Wardsboro.
Got it. Perfect.
Cool. Okay,
And we need to, on that June 18th, make a date for August.
for what?
For
Make a
August.
date for
Right.
August at the June meeting.
Well, we'll try our best.
And I'll scribble some stuff up from tonight's meeting and these notes, and I'll email it to you before I send it to the
Yeah,
Bucket Bill.
so, what I was saying is, I think, something important would be that we gave some guardrails, here they
Got it.
are, and we talked about some measurements of goals, and here they are, and they'll be, discussed further at the next meeting.
Got that. Okay, and I also want to put out the summer schedule, and I also want to remind people that Lauren has this excellent reporting in the Deerfield Valley News, and I also want to always remind people that they can go to BCTV. So those 3 things will always be in.
Do you get money from him to say that?
No, it's good. People tell me they watch it. Like people I haven't seen in like 3 years go, oh, I saw you on BCTV. So
It's all by the autograph, remember that.
It's good.
It's very good. So we have an executive session for a contractual issue. Bill, will we be making a decision, you think?
No.
Okay, so we probably won't be making a decision. So if you want a few minutes to pull out, you can have it.
And I'm gonna lock the building, if you guys can just shut off the lights and make sure the door is shut behind.